The painting you are about to see looks calm at first glance, almost peaceful, but something about it doesn't add up. Look closely, and you'll realize the girl staring back at you may never have existed at all. Her name has never been confirmed. Her face may be entirely invented, and the painting itself vanished from history for nearly 200 years before anyone thought to look for it again. Its name is Girl with a Pearl Earring. Painted around 1665 by a Dutch artist named Johannes Vermeer, a man so obscure in his own lifetime that today we know almost nothing certain about him at all. Here, a young woman turns over her shoulder, caught mid-glance, her lips parted as though she's about to speak. Her skin glows against a background of pure, flat black. A blue and gold turban wraps her head, and hanging from her ear is a single pearl, catching a sliver of light that seems almost too bright to be real. But the longer you look, the more the painting starts to unravel. Why does she have no eyebrows? Why are her eyelashes barely there, if at all? Is that pearl even a pearl? And who, if anyone, was she? Johannes Vermeer worked his entire life in the small Dutch city of Delft, producing a body of work so small that fewer than 40 paintings are confidently attributed to him today. He wasn't wealthy, wasn't famous in his lifetime, and left behind almost no personal writings, no letters explaining his intentions, no diary entries about the girl in this painting. Unlike most artists of his era, Vermeer didn't even sign and date most of his surviving works with any consistency, which means much of what we know about his career has had to be pieced together centuries later, largely through guesswork. That absence of information becomes even stranger when you consider what modern imaging has revealed about this specific painting. Using infrared scans and X-ray analysis, conservators discovered that the painting once looked different. Behind the girl, where we now see only flat, empty black, there was originally a green curtain, folded into the upper corner of the canvas, as if she had been caught glancing out from behind it. Her eyelashes, faint as they are now, appear to have been altered too. At some point, whether by Vermeer's own hand, or through centuries of restoration and aging varnish, that curtain disappeared entirely, leaving her isolated against nothing. Was this an artistic choice, made deliberately to strip away all distraction and force us to focus only on her face? Or is it simply the accident of 350 years of decay? Vermeer's technique only deepens the mystery. Up close, the painting is shockingly loose. The famous pearl earring, when examined closely, is really just 2 or 3 quick strokes of white and gray paint, along with a single dab of pure white light. There's no visible outline of an earring hook, no chain, nothing that would anchor it as a real physical object. Some art historians have suggested it may not depict a pearl at all, but a large glass or tin-glazed imitation, or perhaps no earring at all, just a passage of light Vermeer invented to draw the eye. And that face, so smooth and photographic from a distance, dissolves into soft, almost careless blending the closer you get, a technique historians associate with Vermeer's mastery of light more than any Dutch fondness for hyper-detail. Perhaps strangest of all is what this painting technically is. It isn't a portrait. Vermeer never titled it, never named a sitter, and it wasn't commissioned by any family wanting a likeness preserved. Art historians classify it instead as a tronie, a Dutch genre where artists painted an imagined face, often in exotic dress, purely as a study of expression, light, or costume. In other words, the girl staring out at you may not correspond to any real person who ever lived. She may be a face invented entirely from Vermeer's imagination, or based loosely on a mixture of models and memory, then costumed in the exotic turban to give her a sense of the foreign and unfamiliar. For a painting now considered one of the most beloved artworks in the world, its reception during Vermeer's own era, and for centuries afterward, was close to silence. Vermeer died in debt, and this painting doesn't appear to have earned him any particular acclaim. It passed through private hands, sometimes for shockingly small sums, and effectively disappeared from public memory for roughly 200 years. It wasn't until the 1880s that a Dutch collector purchased it at auction for just a couple of guilders, reportedly unaware of what he'd found, believing it to be a minor, unremarkable work. Why did something so striking go unnoticed for 2 centuries? Part of the answer lies in Vermeer himself. Because he painted so little and courted so little attention in his lifetime, his name essentially vanished from art history after his death, misattributed or forgotten in favor of more prolific Dutch contemporaries. Without a reputation to attach the painting to, buyers and collectors had no reason to see it as anything special. Another part of the answer lies in the painting's genre. Tronies were considered a lesser category of art at the time, cheaper studies rather than serious commissioned portraiture, which meant they weren't collected or preserved with the same care as grand historical or religious paintings. It wasn't until the 20th century, and a wave of renewed scholarly interest in Dutch Golden Age painting, that Vermeer's small body of work was properly reassessed, and this painting in particular began to earn comparisons to some of the most iconic portraits in art history, eventually picking up the nickname, the Mona Lisa of the North. Vermeer wasn't alone in exploring this kind of imagined, expressive face. Rembrandt, working just a few decades earlier, produced dozens of his own tronies, often using himself or family members as models to study exaggerated expressions and dramatic lighting, though his subjects tend to feel weathered and theatrical, rather than quietly intimate. Frans Hals, another contemporary, painted lively, loosely brushed figures full of movement and laughter, a world away from the stillness Vermeer captures here. Compared to both, Vermeer's girl feels suspended in time, caught in a single private moment, rather than performing an emotion for the viewer. So the question remains, is she a real person Vermeer once knew, immortalized without a name? Or is she nothing more than an invention, a study in light and fabric that just happens to look impossibly alive? Does it change how you see her, knowing she may never have existed at all? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the mystery is what makes this painting so powerful? Or would you rather finally know the truth? Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to learn about art every week.